Last year I had the SIM2 Max rescues in play in my golf bag. So for 2022, should I be replacing them with the Stealth? Let's go find out. First up, I've got the TaylorMade Stealth. This is a 4 hybrid in 22 degrees. Now, I had the SIM2 Max in play in my bag last year, and this is what's coming in to replace it. I've got both of these in the same Futurecura Ventus 7S shaft, so it's going to be really interesting to see what differences there are. Looks really great behind the golf ball. I would say almost the all black finish does kind of make it feel smaller though, but it definitely looks more classic, and I think it'll suit a wider variety of people just because it's more neutral compared to the different head colour before. Oh, I caught that slightly low on the face and the ball speed was still really good. I felt like I got a pretty good carry distance out of a not great strike there. That was a bit more solid. Went pretty high, but pretty nice ball flight. So that carried up at 180, but I think I can probably get a little bit more distance out of this yet. That was money. Yes, the cat's carried up at 182, so my longest shot so far. I would say these do fly pretty high. I mean, I have a high ball flight already, and this is 22 degrees, so it is pretty lofted, but it's something to bear in mind. If you're someone who needs to get a little bit more loft and lacks height on your shots, these are just a perfect thing to be putting in play. And even in the higher lofts, you could really easily go down to like a 7-iron in these if you wanted to kind of take out those longer clubs and give you that hang time and height on shots. Feels so pure. I do love the sound and the feel that come off this hybrid. I absolutely crunched that. I think that's got to be my longest yet, yeah. That's flying out at 192. That's pretty impressive for a 4 hybrid. It has such a nice ball flight. It is pretty high though, so you've got to bear in mind if you're someone who already hits it high, or maybe if you're playing on a really windy day, it's obviously not going to be the best club choice, but I think in those certain scenarios for me where I play a lot of par 5s and I'm firing into the green with these and I want it to stop quick near the pin, it's perfect for that because I've got such a steep descent angle. Okay, so now I've got my SIM2 Max. This is exactly the same spec, same loft, same shaft, and I really want to see how they compare in terms of distance, launch and spin. It's quite interesting actually when you put this down, because we've got so many different colours, the crown, the front and the face. This does now feel like it sits a little bit more open than we see with the new Stealth. Nice strike. You can notice the sound is different though. The Stealth definitely feels more solid. This felt a little bit lighter and more tinny in comparison. Slightly high, but still a really good ball flight overall. Definitely probably starting these a little bit further right compared to the Stealth, but then in terms of carry distance, it's been pretty good so far. That was my longest up at 193. That felt really quick. To be honest, they were pretty consistent. I would say I felt like it was launching a little bit higher than the Stealth, and also the dispersion was definitely more right bias. So overall, I think the biggest difference there for me really was one, how it looked over the golf ball. There's quite a big visual difference with the changing colour of the crown, and I also think that this doesn't sit quite as open. I think that's because TaylorMade have added 2 models of rescue this year, so there is one that's more tour player suited, it's smaller, more iron-like, and that's the one that they're going to make really anti-left. Whereas I think they realise with this model there is a large proportion of golfers who do hit the ball left to right, so they don't want to see something that sits as open. So for me, in terms of dispersion, the Stealth was actually a lot better. It was probably half of what I had previously with the SIM2 Max. And also it was a lot more neutral down the target line. My shots were going much more towards the pin in terms of dispersion, whereas my SIM2 Max were finishing a lot further right. In terms of distance, I wouldn't say there was a massive difference. You can see my shortest shots here, which have finished around the 180 mark, and then my best shots were up just over 190 with both clubs. But you can see here the dispersion is just so much better with the Stealth. In fact, one of the shots I literally hit within 6 foot of the pin, which I was definitely pretty pleased with. Now, overall, other things to note, in terms of feel and sound, I thought there was a very big difference. The Stealth sounds unreal and feels great, so definitely a big thing to think about if that's something that's important to you. Now, obviously I'm very used to hitting the SIM2 Max because it is my gamer, and I would say the 5 shots I hit with that I probably struck slightly better. But then my ball speed was actually 2 miles an hour up with the Stealth, which meant that the average carry distance ended up very similar. Now, if I was to hit them both again, and maybe strike them both equally, I think we might see a little bit extra distance out of the Stealth, but I can't really say that for sure at this point. In terms of other variables, the spin was actually a little bit higher with the Stealth, up in the 5,000s compared to 3,000s with the SIM2 Max. But in terms of the ball flight, there really wasn't much difference. The height was almost identical, and even with the little bit of wind we've got today, both held their line really well. So overall, I wouldn't really be concerned about that spin rate, and I do think in kind of a club fitting scenario you can always change the shafts and stuff like that to get it where you'd want it to be. Overall, I was really impressed with the performance here. Yes, there's not that much difference in terms of distance, but for me a hybrid is not about getting more distance, it's a gap filler in my bag, and I want it to go the specific distance that that loft is requiring. The big thing I want with this is dispersion and forgiveness and consistency. I want to be able to fire into par 5s with these and know I can hit it into the green really well in a small spot. The Stealth is doing that perfectly for me, and if I keep hitting shots like that, it's definitely going in my golf bag. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions about any other clubs in this video or any of the rest of the TaylorMade Stealth lineup, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.